Hey, it's John and Mike, brew-dudes.com, and we're still living the funk here on the channel. I have 3 different beers, part of the silly sour beer in Lambic style experiment that I've been doing. This is like year 6 or so. Yeah, because I started this in 2014. But this is like the second round of it. And I think this might be the last round because like I just hate looking at like, you know, 15 gallons of beer just sitting around.
Just sitting around, I know.
And you know, some people that I live with are kind of like, do you really need to have this hanging around? You know, not mentioning names, she knows who she is. But anyway, here we go. I got 3 years worth of Lambic style sour beers. You can probably tell which one's the oldest. This one is 3 years old. This one is 2 years old, and this one is 1 year old.
Wow.
Before I came over, I thiefed this from the carboy. This has been in a secondary fermenter for 2 years, 1 year, and this is still in the bucket. Still in the bucket. And so I thiefed it, put into swing top bottles just for transfer. That's gonna be good.
Which one's still in the bucket? Year 2?
Year 1 still in the bucket.
Still in the bucket.
So these 2 have been racked out of that bucket. So the other thing is that, you know, you start with the Rosolari blend for the actual fermentation of the first one, and then you just kind of you transfer and then rack on, like,
so you're going right back on cake.
Yes, chill and rack.
Yep,
you know, chill and then and so on and so forth. So this one should be well fermented.
Yes.
Right.
And so you've been leaving these successively like this because you want to do a blending?
Yes.
Okay.
Like we did last time.
Yep.
But like last time, I played around with that 2-year-old. I was throwing like the Duchess, like Dregs the Duchess in that, and you were like, that tastes like garbage. So we're gonna figure out like a good blending here today. So just to, you know, if you want to, you can search on our site, but this is where I'm actually getting the information because, of course, I didn't write it down anywhere. I used my own blog for my notes. We went with 67% of extra light dry malt extract. So this is an extract brew.
Yeah, because it's easy.
It's easy. And then 33% of dry wheat malt extract. That's the grain bill. For just more for the bugs to chew on, as I read in Brewing Classic Styles, we did 4 ounces or 113 grams of maltodextrin. And then it's basically just a smidge of Saaz hops, you know, for 60 minutes. Yeah. That being like 28 grams or an ounce of Saaz hops, real low on the old alpha acid scale. So that's that. I don't know if you've tasted anything. Like, so
I gave him a quick sip.
I haven't tasted any like these. The 1-year-old I haven't tasted. These I have like just as in the transferring process. But then I said, all right, see you in a couple years, you know, that sort of thing. It's not like I've been tasting along the way.
All right, so year 3.
Year 3.
So year 3, the aroma isn't bad. It's it doesn't smell.
There's some oxidation there.
There's some oxidation, and the color I think is gotta be 3 years in the carboy with there's some oxygen ingress through the cap somehow, because that's the only way I can describe reasoning for that coloring, right? The flavor's a bit mellow. There's a weird tang on the back of the throat that goes down. Yep. Strangely enough, even though it's acidic, it's actually strangely there's a sweetness to it too, which is weird for being sitting in a carboy 3 years on its own dregs.
I picked up the sweetness in the aroma too, you know.
Yep. Which could maybe it's just something residual from the extract that is not fermentable and it's just hanging around there. But you know what that sweetness probably is? It's sherry-like.
Yes.
It's the oxidation.
It's yep.
So just so we know, sound like we know what we're talking about.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's something.
Yep. Okay, so year 2.
Year 2. Oh, much
year 2 is aggressive.
Yes, much brighter.
Brighter is one way to put it. Aggressive was my favorite term. The aroma is
you can tell how good it is.
The aroma is funky. There's
a little more funk to this.
It's like apricot fruit leather and a little bit of like gym sock. You know, I mean, it's just funk. It's just weird. Again, but there is a little bit of that oxidative. We'll call it sweet sherry-ish, maybe even like a soy saucy type note.
Yep. But I do like the apricot leather, though.
Yeah, it's not
nice.
bad. So on second sip, the flavor profile isn't as punch in the face as it was the very first time I sipped it. So it's a little, so definitely, yeah, it is brighter than year 3, a little bit more acidic. But the aroma is something, I don't 100% care for the aroma, but which is weird because I think year 2, and the last time we did this, year 2 was also the one that was weirding me out.
Yes, maybe.
So maybe next time just do year 3 and 1. No, just don't even do a year 2.
But yeah,
so,
I'm not sure how that's going to work.
No, I know. No. So year 1 is the lightest.
And it certainly is the least
It's the mildest.
acidic. Yes.
And there is a little bit of there's a beer component to it underneath there. Now granted, these are all warm and they're not carbonated because you're just sampling from a carboy. So yeah, this is just more, this is fuller. It's just a little bit fuller. Not to say that it's got a big mouthfeel, but it's just rounder. It's more, there's a little bit more of a malt character here for a back turn, and the acidity is extremely low. So yeah. And so then the goal there is we'll play around with trying to come up with a blend.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Which I think we did last time. We just sort of like tasted it in like specific you know, quantities, and then decided like, okay, we'll do one quantity of this vintage, and then add that to like, I don't know, 4, you know, and then and do like
just
2
see where we got
and see where we got.
We did it but via parts.
Yes, parts, right?
Yeah.
Now, judging these like we did with the English brown and the yeast, and like I don't know if any of them are like, wow, this is extremely stellar. You know, they all have like high points, and then there's like, oh, there's something
there's
there.
Enough of a less than high point that makes that puts it all in reserve. You're just sort of like, I don't know. You know? I almost wonder if, say, brewing up a 6 or 7% Belgian blonde ale, right, with a really good semi-clean Belgian fermentation as a base to blend some of these into would help give you something that was a little bit more unifying. These all beers, even these, they all have theirs that weird non-wood aged wood character, right? Because we've experienced in a couple of my sours too, right? You know, but it wasn't until I started buying more commercial sours that I realized, oh, that flavor is there too. So it's not a flaw. I don't think there's a big flaw here. It's just that the total expression of the microbes hasn't been as balanced as what we probably were shooting for, right? Like I don't know. I think I'm partial to sours where the acid, the acidity is a little bit cleaner, right? But none of these are carrying a strong enough like a yeast like funk character to it that is distinct enough. Which is why I wonder if like taking like a Belgian blonde, well fermented Belgian blonde, or even like a Belgian triple or something, right? And blending some of these into that, using that as a part of the base. But so with these 3, what does your gut tell you you would want to start with as the base beer?
I think year 3.
Yeah, year 3.
Year 3 has the most acidity. It's got the most mellow flavor. It's kind of like where I want it to, the whole, if I'm going to blend, it's like where I'd like to be.
Yeah.
It's almost like I was hoping that some of the younger ones had more redeeming qualities to, like, you know, maybe not cancel out, but to blend well with that one. So I think it's something where I use many parts. I don't know exactly how many, but like a strong majority of the blend would come from year 3. The thing is, I have 15 gallons of beer here, and really, like, I'm trying to like figure out what the 5-gallon blend is going to be.
1 to 1 to 1. So you're still going to be left over with some of the other beers.
And that's why I'm thinking like whatever's left over will still just continue to age.
Sure.
You know?
You know what might be interesting to do would be to create a blend with some percentage of each one, but then do the exact same blend, add in some maltodextrin, maybe like another pound of DME, and then pitch into it like more Brett, like a big healthy Brett pitch, like a Brett Brux or something, and let that go in there and do its thing. Because some pro brewers and some podcasts and articles I've read talk about how Brett can sometimes like remove the sins of a strange fermentation, and tend to have the ability to absorb up some overly aggressive oxidative character, right? Like they go in and take those molecules and transform them and sort of take them out of solution. It's certainly not going to like change the color, but it'd be interesting just as a side-by-side to make the blend twice, but then add a little more fermentable to it, and just to get the Brett something to get going on, and then see what it does with the blend itself and see if it transforms it.
All right.
I'm not saying we do that, but it's just an interesting idea.
I thought, yeah, because I also have fermentation, limited, space.
Yeah.
So I think I'm taking the bucket.
Well, if you wanted to bail out of what you've got going, like make your blend in 2 vessels, right, and then just go for it.
Yeah. I'll make the one blend that I will bottle up. I'll add sugar to. I'll get the carbonate, like do a bottle conditioned, beer with that. Yeah. And then whatever's left over is probably going to be split between 2 different vessels. Yeah. And just like say, all right, well, that's for another time. Yep. And just let it sit and see what happens.
Well, it's an experiment, and it's a learning process. So when you taste commercial beer, when you taste someone else's beer, you've got some experience with aged, souring, and whatever, and you're just a better brewer because of it, regardless of what we think of each beer individually, right? So I think it's worth it. I think it's cool. It's nice to taste them. It's nice to think about what has happened and what could happen. So,
I still have that Gueuze that we did in 2017. Yeah. I still have like multiple bottles of that.
I think waiting for a friend to show up.
It is,
more
exactly.
bottles.
And then we can talk about wow, this is.
Oh, there we go. So I think you need to do one more round, another 3 years.
No, this is it.
So then we can do 17, 20, and 23 Gueuze tastings.
Okay. All right. No.
Sorry.
I think that maybe in 2027 we can, and 2030 or something. Then we can say like, look at this. Yeah. Remember back in the good old days when we weren't controlled by AI or whatever. I was making beer and putting videos on YouTube. Yep. Yeah, those are the days. Anyway, we'll figure this out. I'll follow up with some other video, at some time, probably in the fall, and then maybe later on, much later on, we'll have like the first Gueuze, the second Gueuze, and the third Gueuze, and that'll be it. And then I don't. These things I was giving them out as gifts and stuff, and it's like now I don't.
But it's hard
when
you feel like it's not your best effort. Right. I mean, it is what it is, and unless I think in order to really nail down and make a world-class Gueuze, man, you've got to really be dedicated to the process. Yeah. And it's hard because storage space is limited for sure.
That's true. Yeah. So I forgot what I was going to say. Now I'm not unhappy with that first Gueuze that I made. Yeah. I think that's good. I think people drink it because they say well, this is a sour beer, and it's like well balanced, you know what I mean? It's not like, this isn't like, puckeringly sour like we're used to, and when we get sour beers like, oh wow, this is so sour. It's like, no, it's more like this fella here. It's got some acidity to it, but it's not overwhelming, and it's it's an interesting beverage.
Exactly.
It's one that
with an interesting story.
With an interesting story, but you're not going to pound these all night. You'll probably sit around and contemplate. And that's it.
These are beers for brewers.
Yeah, they really are.
You pour it, you sit back and go, oh, so this is what I did. And other brewers go, that's really interesting. Thanks for doing it, so I don't have to. It's great.
And then we sit in silence for the next 20 minutes. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. Appreciate the time and indulging us. If you have sour beer tips, please leave them in the comment below. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channels because eventually you'll be seeing videos about this sour beer and others and other comparison. For John and Mike, brew-dudes.com, brew on.
Cheers.